Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, karibu sana, welcome to my channel. My name is Virginia, I come from Kenya and I've been living in Germany for quite some years now, 26 to be exact. In the last video, I mentioned that today I'll be talking about my nursing career in Germany, which started way back in September 2004. As I said briefly, the nursing course or the nursing school is not a walk in the park because you are faced with the language challenges, and even if you're German, like in my case, my German was good enough, you know, learning a language for your day-to-day use and learning a language in order to to learn a career, those are two different things. In my school, we had blocks of school and then blocks of placement periods. That means we had like 2 weeks of continuous schooling, and then we would have like 1 or 2 weeks of work where you were sent in to different wards or to different care institutions. And the first 6 months were a probation period, after which you sat for an exam, and if you performed well, you could then go ahead and continue with the 3-year course. The biggest challenge for me at the beginning was the science subjects, and I love biology, anatomy, and physiology, but I found myself sitting in a class and I only understood a fraction of what was being taught. So I made a big mistake of going home after school and starting to do my studies, my research in English, and that got me into a lot of trouble because I had the knowledge in my head, but then I could not put it on paper, and that got me really confused. And after sometime I just decided to do all my studies and all my research in German. And after 6 months, everything had settled and I started enjoying school. My first placement was in an orthopedic ward, and I just had a lovely time there because I had a very good mentor, a young lady who really encouraged me to continue working hard, even though the initial stages were hard for me, especially having to deal with the cultural differences all over again. Because as you can imagine, the nursing job involves seeing naked people, involves dealing with death or people who are near death. And as you can imagine, seeing a man naked, a man who is in your father's age, was not very easy. But she stood by me, and when I felt a situation was too difficult for me, maybe she could step in and help me out. And this is not the case in many wards or in many hospitals, because you get told you knew what you're getting yourself into, so if you can't cope, you might as well quit and do something else. The ward was a private ward. That means the patients there enjoyed some privileges which maybe other patients in other wards do not enjoy. And having been in my home country in one hospital that was so filthy, so run down, so with a lot of corruption, being on that ward really gave me that feeling that I could work in a hospital, because there was the organization was so good and the place was so clean, and it was a breath of fresh air. Some other placements that followed in the next 3 years, some were not so pleasant, because like in some wards, you just did the menu jobs, like you're the one serving the food, you're the one pushing beds from A to B, and well, that's part of the nursing job. But if that's all you're doing in 7.5 hours, it can get very frustrating, get very discouraging. And during the first few months, or maybe the first year, you are a little bit shy, you don't want to speak up even when things are not going the way they should. So you just swallow the pill and just pray that the shift comes to an end pretty fast. But as time progressed, I learned to speak for myself, and I had an advantage because I was not a very young girl when I started my nursing school. And that level of maturity helped me with time, because when things were not working the way they should, I could speak up. And that did not settle very well with some nurses, because they took that to be a sign of arrogance, and that was not really the case. And this is something I continue to hear from the students who are doing the nursing course even today. Another thing I loved about the nursing school is because you are sent to different institutions, and I said at the beginning, and I loved going, I love the part of the community nursing. Community nursing means that you go to people's home, you're preparing the medicines, helping them in any way that they need help, and you're kind of your own boss. You just go to the office in the morning if you're on early shift, or in the afternoon. You pick the keys to your patient's house. You pick all the things that you need for your shift, and off you go. And nobody is telling you what to do. So you plan your own schedule, and you're your own boss. And then another thing I loved about that, you kind of avoid the drama, which is sometimes found on many wards, and that's one thing I truly enjoyed. As the nursing course progressed, I also came face to face for the first time with racial discrimination. My first experience is when I was trying to take the BP of a patient, and I think she thought I didn't know what I was doing, and she kept kind of telling me what to do, and in the end, thank God, I was already about nine months, or maybe a year into the nursing school. And after some time, after this went on for a few minutes, I just told her, would you prefer to have a German nurse? And of course, when you say that, they kind of feel offended, because according to them, they didn't have any racial discrimination intentions. And she said, oh, no, that's not what I meant. I just thought maybe you should be doing this and this. And I experienced that quite a number of times, and this is something that continues to happen even today. What I would tell the young girl, the young man who is starting this nursing course, don't get intimidated, and don't pick a quarrel. Don't even try to justify yourself every time something like that happens. You can always tell them, like I did, if you feel uncomfortable me doing this, and if you prefer somebody else doing this, you have the right to ask for another person. Because picking a quarrel could mean that things could turn really sour. You might lose your temper, maybe say something abusive to the patient, and you are the one to lose. You might end up, getting terminated, or you might end up getting, disciplinary measures. It's not worth it. Don't pick a quarrel when such situations occur. As the years progressed, I went on to, to really enjoy the school part of it, especially because learning new things meant that your horizons were also being opened. And for me, being able to understand such complex things in German language was a proof that I could do anything. Because at the beginning, during the first period, the first 6 months, I just thought, I will never ever make it. I used to keep telling myself, I don't know what I was getting myself into because I won't make it. But as time progressed and I was getting very good grades, that was a proof that anything is possible as long as you put a lot effort, as long as you keep working hard. I will give you a few examples of maybe a few things that are a few negative things that I've experienced in the nursing career. One of them is, of course, the racial discrimination. For example, and I experienced this just the other day, a patient rang the bell and I went into her room and she said to me, I would like to speak to a nurse. And because it's not anything new to me anymore, I told her, well, you were speaking to one. Can I help you? And she says, oh, sorry, I didn't know you were a nurse. And I go like, now that you know I'm one, can I help you? And I've learned to take it so easy. I don't like to even deepen the conversation. And for them, it becomes embarrassing and they even end up, saying sorry. Then the other thing that I've experienced on the negative part is like sometimes I'm standing on the corridor, typing in my computer, and a visitor will come, just pass by, will not say hello, and go to the room, where the person they're visiting is lying. And after some time, she'll come out because maybe she wants to know the progress of the therapy of the person they are visiting. And once again, she'll just pass by and go to the nurse's office. And the nurse in the office will come out looking for me. And the nurse will say, oh, you will have to speak that nurse because she's the one who is taking care of the patient. And you can see the embarrassment in their eyes. And sometimes I must say, the weak human being in me will sometimes enjoy that moment because I'm like, Jesus Christ, a hello does not cost much. And, it gets pretty tricky for them in this moment. But as I said, you just take it easy and you know very well these things will always happen no matter where you are. It will always happen. It so happened that I think it was on the second day of my work. I work in the cardiology and I was attending to a patient. She was not feeling very well and I was looking at the drip that she was getting, and there was a cleaning lady who was making a bed, and she looked at me and I think she thought I didn't know what I was doing, and she said to me, well, your patient has nausea and you have to give her this and this. Well, I just looked at her and told her, you know what, you do your job and I do mine. I was very polite and that didn't settle very well with her, and she never talked to me again. I see her very often and she doesn't even greet me, but I'm okay with that. You will find that sometimes the people who do a lower job than you do have difficulties acknowledging the fact that you are a nurse. And as I said, hurting people can hurt others. Do not seek their validation. You do not need it. Just do your job, bearing in mind, everywhere you go, you will always find somebody who will first of all see your skin color before they can see the human being in you, the qualifications that you have in your field. So do your job well, give it your best, and take these negative experiences as a lesson. Pass that information, pass your experiences to the next generation and prepare them for what they will have to go through, unfortunately, the moment they get into the work field. And this has nothing to do with nursing. This is something that you'll find in all fields. But I thank God that these negative experiences are not the order of the day, and the good outweigh the bad. A few examples of the positive things that I've experienced is, so for example, when I was working as a community nurse, there was this young, he was not very young. He had suffered stroke, and he could not stand very well, but over the years he had mastered ways of, lifting himself from a chair, turning, changing position in bed or on the couch. And when I went to his house, I was in the company of another nurse. When I went to his house for the first time, I think he just wanted to, misuse the situation, because he had seen a new face, and I had to accompany him to go to the bathroom, and he held my waist, and that shocked me. And I looked at him straight in the face, and I told him, never ever touch me again. And he said, well, I just needed some support to get up. I said, you live here alone. That means every time you need to go to the bathroom, you manage that on your own. Well, he apologized, and we became very, very good friends. And he actually trusted me more than his own children. We got along so well, and he became a very good friend up to the day he died. And I still have very, very good contact with his family up to this day. In the community nursing, you can create such a beautiful bond with the patients, with the family, because you are tending to them every day. And some relatives of the patients you're taking care of are very appreciative, because your assistance makes them able to pursue their job, because otherwise they would be at home taking care of their fathers, their mothers, or their grandmothers. Another positive thing is that if you're taking care of patients who've traveled quite a bit, these are people who have widened their horizons. They have been to many different places in Africa or wherever, and they are very, very accommodating. They are very curious. They want to know how difficult or how easy it was for you to become a nurse. They want to know you on a personal level, and most of them are very, very genuine. And sometimes if you have been off for a couple of days, the moment you walk into their room, they just lighten up, and that makes your work so much fun. Another very positive experience I had, or I continue to have, is that when people know the hardships that maybe you have been through during your nursing years, they admire you a lot. They encourage you, and sometimes they will even give you tips, like when you go to a room in the company of another nurse, and another nurse is probably trying to pull you down. The moment the other nurse walks out, they will tell you, head up. You do not need the approval. Do your job, and you're doing it well. And for those patients, I'm truly grateful. The nursing job is very, very rewarding, because it opens so many doors for you. You do not have to work in a hospital. You can work in a dialysis center. You can work, as I mentioned, as a community nurse. You can work in the X-ray services. You can work in the endoscopy. You can work as a study nurse. You can work as a breast care nurse. You have so many opportunities, and as long as you keep you keep learning, as long as you keep increasing your knowledge, I mean, the world is open to you. All you have to do is keep learning. Don't get comfortable with where you are. If you keep putting in the effort, if you keep on putting in the work, this is a very rewarding job. So to the young man and to the young girl who is thinking of beginning this journey, I wish you the best. You will make it. Do not get discouraged when things go bad, as they often will. Seek help from the people who've walked this path before you, and you will be just fine. 3 years sounds like a very long period, but I'm telling you, time moves very fast. Within 2 years, you will already start preparing for your final exams, and you will realize that all those things that you went through, all those discouraging moments that you went through, they were just a preparation for the good things that will happen in this nursing job. I wish you the best. I hope that you've learned a thing or two. See you next time in the next video. Please share this video, like, and subscribe. Take care. See you next time. Bye.